Unfortunately, this took too long to review. First out of other incidents, then out of I simply forgot. Hi, for those who are watching, it's the Angry Anime Fan, the Despair Reviewer, bringing you Shokugeki no Soma 196. At long last, we see a little bit more on how the man that was called the pioneer, the adventurer, even a true genius, became the Asura. Do I understand this a single bit? No, I do not. It just feels like I forgot something very important. But I will talk on how I translated it to be. Either way, in this chapter we see more of Yoichiro's story. And during that, and his comrades get more and more word about him, mostly Gin, who wonders why he begins to continue doing his weird experiments. Because apparently, even before, until he began, this seems to reveal that Yoichiro did not do his weird experiments that actually shouldn't even taste good until after he began to fall down the path of Ashura. It seemed to have been a strange obsession, not just a gag, but seems to have been a strange obsession in order to get taste. And it also seems in the beginning of the chapter that he's actually writing. Is that writing or is it napkins? He seems to be writing something. Either way, June was the most victims, while other girls also tasted the disgustings because of, sado machiny. But, both Azami and Gin wonder what would up to him. But elsewhere, he will be... Yoichiro would be entering a competition called Blue, which stands for Bishuku leading under 35 entrants. Is it just me, or is that a very high chance that we are gonna see this after Asami's rule has been demolished? Either way, it's something where everybody will see everybody. So either way, he came back from a new match, which he of course won, and then we have a cooking match, which he also of course won. But even though he still said it's the best, Gin still wonders what was doing. And on the surface, it turns out that Yoichiro held very strong feelings of... obsession is maybe not the right word, but here is something very interesting that happens in this chapter. Once a pickup gang picks a fight with Yoichiro, saying that he obviously should have paid the judges off from entering the Blue 10 or stuff like that. He says they should have a Shokugeki. And although Gin says they shouldn't be taunted by that, Yoichiro accepted that to do a regimen de cuisine. And he did it all by himself, crushed 50 or at least 10 opponents, and the rest gave up. And here is the interesting part. It's the fact that he actually got mad when people gave up. When they saw his amazing talent to blend everything in. They called him a true genius, and they stood no chance because they couldn't do anything of that all. And it seemed to... and that actually pissed off Yoichiro. That is one of the first time we've actually seen it. This, at least how I translate it. It seems to imply that Yoichiro looks down... well, looks down is the wrong thing, but he seems to not like when people compare talent and geniusness. I mean, Yoichiro, apparently from what I could see of this, never considered himself talent or a genius. He only considered himself a very hard worker. And the guys gave up because, well, he just experimented over and over and over again. In a way, Ashura was born from Yoichiro's obsession of always finding different things. He was basically just washing out every single thing he did. It wasn't perfection. He was just doing all of that more. And that got off the will of others. They considered they could never go beyond any of that, which is almost exactly how Soma is. Only difference is that... do you all remember what Satoichi said a long time ago? He strongly believed that the way Soma is in his personality and the way he cooks is actually the key of increasing the determination and the willpower of other cooks. This seems to have the opposite effect in Yoshiro doing that, because they considered him a genius, while others don't consider Soma a genius, just a very talented person. But Yoshiro never got mad at that, saying that he didn't like when people did not. They thought he was just could do this just because he was a genius, but he was just a trailblazing who got new path. And since they were not having great resolve, they gave up. And thus, well, after that, Asura was born, which very much impressed Asami. And if I can understand this correctly, which I probably don't, it seems to imply that Asami actually misunderstood Yochiro's actions. Yochiro became an Ashura out of frustration, out of people not giving them all, and out of an obsession of becoming, finding different flavors. I think Asami translated that in a way like, oh, so you want to get rid of all those chefs that do not have the true gourmet spirit. I think that is what he meant when he admired Yochiro. He thinks Yochiro wanted to destroy other people. And yeah, maybe Yochiro did want to destroy, but it was not more out of pure jerk-assness. It was simply because he wanted to test his own limits. And he didn't like when people did not test their limits. So the genius that became the Ashura awoke, and kindness disappeared from his cooking. That is basically this chapter. I just know there's something I have missed in this. What I just said, is it really like Yoshiro did not want to consider himself a genius, just a very big hard worker, and did not like to be called a genius by others, and therefore crushed them because he wanted them to give their all? And that was Asami misunderstood. He thought he really would want to crush everybody else. Either way, this chapter, it was filled with a little bit of dread. Then now we see truly why Yoichiro was an Ashura. Of course, there's still not a single hint on why he did not graduate. From this chapter alone, it seems that maybe he just left because he was unsatisfied with the fact that people didn't give them all. Although that may very well not be the case. Oh. But Shokugeki no Soma did not disappoint, at least. Now is the question, though, what awaits us next? But this was the end of the Polar Star Dorm's best friends, guys. I think this was the day where they all split apart. Where Azami embraced the Ashura philosophy, which was misunderstood, and Yoichiro became an Ashura out of frustration to find perfection. Now's the question. Well, oh no, not perfection. He was never a perfectionist. Out of obsession of trail breaking. What awaits us next? Give me your thoughts if you have any.